Hi, it's Melissa.
And Roxanne.
And soon to be Maitreya. We kind of want to tee this video up a little bit differently, though, in the past. You've been watching from me channeling or us having conversation. A lot has happened in the last few days, which I'll do a separate video kind of going from a personal aspect. But we're going to go ahead and have some conversations. I say we, I'm there, but not really, with Maitreya. But what you're going to notice is this is very casual and is almost having a girlfriend type conversation. Very informal. And you're going to see how Maitreya comes through now, which has been a surprise, but it's also been really fun how he now comes in. Because as usual, in the past, I close my eyes to help stay centered in allowing his full energy to come through me, and I step aside as an observer. There's been some variance in that, and you're going to see that. I will be, eyes wide open, and it'll be almost as if I'm talking, but I'm sure you'll be able to tell that it is Maitreya coming through. But what we have done, just to kind of give you some insight of what's going on, is, like I said, historically, I would just move aside and allow his full presence to come in, and he has very strong energies. So most time I wasn't even really aware of what was being said. That's why I like to watch the recordings. We figured out, or he may have always known this, and he's just educating us along the way, but there's been a way for me now to do a couple things, is to still step aside and allow him to come through, but it's not necessarily his full energy. It's more about somewhere in between, because he can come through and channel, and it's him speaking, but his energy is not consuming. I actually can still function and be present state and do things.
And remember.
So I am still very much present, and he's very much present also. So it's been a very interesting, but the reason we're doing this video is, one, that's how I'm going to be channeling path forward. But two, once this gets started, you'll see how actually fun and casual this is, and with ease, and that's the thing.
And it's to show you that you can do the same with your own guides. That it's not, it doesn't have to be a formal meditation. It doesn't have to be only at a certain time or in a certain way. It's just to show you how easy it can be, and to utilize your guides for multiple things, whether it's planning your business or planning your day, or if you have a problem that you need guidance with. You don't have to wait till you're in a meditative state later in the evening to call upon them. I love having conversations with Maitreya. In fact, I have to stop myself from asking more questions because Melissa has things she needs to go do. We need to cut it short after a while.
But it has been fun, and that's what, when Maitreya asked us to be, in the raw and start allowing others to see what we're going through, it is meant to do that. It is meant to show all these informal things, that it doesn't have to be so structured. And then also, feel a lot of gratitude that I've been able to escalate the levels I've been able to achieve, but being transparent in that too. So this is a new realm, but as I've been told, it will be the new way we do business when it comes to channeling. So stay tuned. Let me get a little bit more comfortable though. It's all about me being comfortable too, because he knows if I'm not comfortable, and he's like, okay, I got to stop and let her be comfortable.
Let me turn this a little bit.
I think we're good. Okay. As we get settled, see, in the raw, you can see how everything happens. The new way of doing business. I do like that. Ah, yes, it is Maitreya. May not seem like it. It may seem like it is the channel Melissa all the way, but you will see later. Not so much. How are you, Miss Roxanne?
I'm doing fine, Maitreya. Good to talk to you again today.
Ah, such grandness. Now, here's something different. Roxanne and I talk often, but always over the phone.
Right.
We laugh. I think she has my number in her phone because it's Maitreya calling her.
It is different being in person.
I She's probably looking at the channel, Melissa, going, I am not yet. I hear Maitreya's voice, but I see you.
I just won't look.
But again, my dear, this is the way we will be doing business, because this is meant to be the most informal process. It's a natural state. And then the humans, through their experience, they've made it very formal, and we have to be in this current state. And yes, you do have to be at a high vibrational state for this to occur. However, it is meant to be just as pleasurable and engaging as this. You know, the channel does have to be in this rigorous type position or state of mind to make this happen. As you can see, she is very functional in what she is doing, but trust me, she has almost like it's a split personality going on. She's very present, but I'm driving on the messaging, but my energies have been moderated enough that I don't need her to completely step aside. So it's a joint effort between us, and actually, the all truthfulness is we have merged as one. That's been going on for some time, but now she's developed more the ability to have it more transparent. In her mind, she wouldn't be able to do too many tactile things and still channel. Well, we just proved her wrong last night on that one. So
she drove home from Houston, Texas for an hour,
yes,
close to an hour, while he's talking to me on the phone.
Yes, and that's what I wanted to share with you. As a human experience, this is very normal. You make it a big deal, but it's time now that you see that this can happen. So we're going to enjoy our conversations like we have had in the past, and you'll get a feel for what goes on. Now, to give you some insight, the channel Melissa is still feeling the vibrations as tensely as I usually am. She knows my presence, but her body has adjusted to that, and that's what happens as you progress, as your body becomes adjusted to the channelers, the beings that you're channeling, their energy. One thing we discovered this morning, and she's already starting it, I notice her head kind of bounces a lot. Yes, she's agreeing to everything I say, you know. How else would she? She wouldn't disagree. Well, you don't know our conversations after hours when we're arguing back and forth, because she does like to argue. But you'll notice that you'll see more of the pulsing of the vibration going through her head, and so you are seeing it now. It's her head just kind of that pulsating, and that's just a natural state for her, and it may change differently. So reason I explain this to you is to help you understand is energy can show itself in the human body in multiple ways. And it is good for you to understand how that's going to come about in your body, but know that it can change too. So let us begin. And like I said, we think we've addressed that before in other videos, so let's not go down that path too much. But what else shall we talk about today, Roxanne?
Well, I think it's important that we talk about like what happened to me this week.
Oh, yes.
Where the energy from beings that wanted to come into me or to communicate with me were so strong, it knocked my body down.
Well, let's give in context. Let's help the audience understand what that was that we're speaking about.
So I felt like I got hit by a truck. My whole body was aching from my head down to my feet. And it was nothing that I was doing was really helping. And then it created a migraine headache. And it was just very, very uncomfortable and very painful. And I couldn't understand. It wasn't really like I was coming down with something, but it was very painful. And Maitreya helped me to understand that it was, well, from watching Melissa, and because she went through this process, I watched her go through this process when high vibrational energies, beings from other universes were trying to come in, how it would knock her down. And so I recognized that this might be what was happening. So I asked to be completely surrounded by light, by the divine light, to raise my vibration so it wouldn't be such a gap between mine and theirs. So maybe it would ease some of the pain. And I asked them to moderate it so that it wouldn't hurt so much, because as Maitreya has told us, they don't know, our guides don't know what they don't know. They don't, if they haven't been in a body, they don't know how very, very strong energy can affect our bodies.
So let me take it on because that's very good. But there's one thing that you left. You were experiencing nausea.
Oh, no, nausea, yes.
And that's very common. And in this human experience, you guys are, the words you use is the Ascension flu, various things. And so you just seem to put everything in a bucket. But let me explain that. Not everything goes there, because if you have already been on the Ascension path as you claim it, for a period of time, and some it doesn't take much time at all, but you are in a very high vibrational state because you're having other symptoms, i.e. the nausea does not mean it's Ascension related per se. In this case, and more likely what it's being related to is you have others from other dimensions, the vibrational higher plane dimensions, these I call them light beings. You have different terms for them, but for this sake, we'll call them the light beings. They're wanting to communicate with you. So as you up level to these higher vibrations, you're kind of like a beacon. You're going off. And those that are in that vibrational plane that you are close to, they go, whoa, wow, this human can now read me, can see me, can speak to me. In a sense, it's all energy, but you become a potential conduit. So when you experience the nausea, that is the variation of the two energies, your energy and the higher vibrational being or the white light being trying to come together. And that's not working so well. So Roxanne was explaining what was going on. And I'll be honest, I had to do some reprimanding, let's say, of her higher self's guides to remind them that was too much for her. You know, she talks about what she did, but at that time she wasn't sure what was going on.
Correct.
So through our conversation, what was it that I told you to do? That you need to explain to your guides that from an experience and an emotion state, they need to understand that.
Yes. So I told them, it's too much. It's too much, with emphasis. It hurts. It's uncomfortable, and it holds me down, and it's going to prevent me from communicating with you. So tone it down. It has to be toned down.
And how did you feel when you started taking ownership of that and understanding what you were doing?
Well, it gave me more understanding that I actually have control, and that I can demand that it not be painful, that it has to be done with ease and grace. And even this morning, I woke up with with a stomach ache, like in my solar plexus area. It felt like a knot. And I asked that the energies be moderated so that this can go away. And it started easing. So I've been working with it. There were several things that happened, but that was one that was really prominent this morning. And it works, and they do. And I can feel that they're still around, but it's not affecting me in the same way.
Yes, it is a process, and that's what we, and even this channel, Melissa and I have had to do negotiations, or the dance, we laugh and say. But it is a process, because especially when you have new guides or energies that have not been communicating before with the human, and are not quite understanding the context of a human body and what that means, because it is very different in the realms that we live. So some are familiar with that, and they get that, but some are not. And even if they are familiar with how to engage and how to moderate that energy so that the two of you can come together, the human body may not be in a state of receiving at that particular time. So a lot of times the nausea is, I would take a step back if I were you and say, who is trying to communicate with me? Because please know, you have divine beings wanting to communicate with you at all times. That's just what we do, wanted it or not. I try to come and talk to you. But that's the thing, is we want to engage. We need a platform to be able to have some fun and come on in and enjoy that. But just know, don't put everything in a bucket as oh, this is just part of the ascension process. because one of the things that I do want to start to address is those of you that are already, let's say, very comfortable with your guides. You know they exist. You know the energy realm. You have done your homework. But somehow you've now become complacent, not taking those next steps. So there's a lot that we could discuss on that. But this is why I wanted to have a conversation with Roxanne, because she's always asking really great questions. But let's say that you're in that position and you do have meditation sessions. You understand how to connect with your guides, your higher self. You feel strong in your intuition. But somehow that's where you stopped. And I ask why? Why is that? Why do you stop there? That is like having a piece of cake and not the frosting too. I mean, why would you do that? You need the full thing. And the part that I really want you to understand is the ultimate goal of the universe is one. And I have said that many times, but here is how this works. If you sit around and are complacent, you're not helping us. You did grand work. You initiated. You've accepted that. But then you just stopped. Not that you don't live in grandness where you're at, but there is so much more for you to do. And the key is those that are at that state needs to elevate. And even now, so the energies have changed where you're able to magnify more easily. You're actually able to enjoy the progression at an easier state. As the channel Melissa, explained at another time how ease it has come to her. That's what I think. We're in a different playing field. You don't have to work as hard at this. But I do ask you, dear ones, do you want to sit on the sidelines or do you want to play with us? It's time. Roxanne, I know you come across this and we've had this conversation. What is it that some of the things that we've talked about that you feel like we need to talk about now that might help the collective understand some of these things? Do you have questions or terminology that we need to explain?
So, is there ever a time where you've done enough? Where you've achieved enough? You've studied enough? You've grown enough? Is there ever a time where you can just chill and relax? And
now, chill and relax is one part of that question. There's always time for that, and we encourage all of that. But do you ever have enough? Have you completed enough? That is such a human term, because you choose to be in this experience, which we are very appreciative to. But everything is about an experience, and for some reason, well, we do know why, but in the human experience, you feel that there has to be a process, there needs to be action. And so you measure everything by action. So when you laugh, or I laugh when you say, is there enough? Because here we are measuring the action again. Are we at this milestone? Are we at this milestone? Are we at this milestone? Dear ones, there are no milestones. As if there is no time. You've heard that before, I know. It is all one. So to say, is there enough, would be quite an interpretation, and I'd have to really challenge you on that concept, because that term does not exist in our realm. Because we are always eager to advance and to understand. As we watch and perceive the human in their experience, that is what you're doing for us. Helping us understand, because in a human body and living in your experiences, that grandness you're sharing with us, good, bad, or indifferent, those emotions. So enough. The answer is no. There's no way to measure that. It's not measurable. There is so much divineness within you, in your human body. It's in your cellular memory. Everything that you have touched in every lifetime, no matter in human form or not, is in your cellular memory. So it is accessible to you. You ask to understand those memories. Now, there are things that activate those, all in divine timing. Because can you imagine just one day you open your eyes and you have now understood everything from all lifetimes, and no matter what you have done in every lifetime since the incarnation of your light. It might be a little overwhelming. You might hide back underneath the covers and not come out for a while. It is not meant for you to receive as one download. It is meant for you to receive in granular pieces according to the alignment of your higher self. Some of you receive things faster than others, some slower than others. But no, there is no race in this. It is meant to be in divine timing, and that's why you work with your guides and another collective if choose to be, because that helps align when that divine timing is. So there is no measurement of enough. If you was to aspire to everything that's available to you, how grand that will be. Why would you deny yourself of that?
Yeah, it's like sometimes I feel like the more I know, the more I realize how much I don't know and how much there is to learn, to experience.
That is it. That is exactly it. In the human capacity, you're not meant to know all. That is not the intent. But you are to experience. You're here for experience. And you may not taste and touch everything, but the attempt and the ability to be open, to allow whatever that is to come to you, is the request. And in part of that, we want to help you understand, because it is a we. I'm speaking, but trust me, there is a we of us waiting for things to happen, desiring communications. And there are many things that will assist Gaia in our higher state of vibration. And each of us taking time to do the work, not the action per se, but allowing the understanding of your cellular memory and to be open to that, not complacent. There's not such a place for you to say, I'm done. That's an emotion. That's just a state that you've chosen. But it's not the divineness that you asked for or agreed to when you came. Because you have to remember that. And we've talked about our soul contracts before, Roxanne. Mm-hmm. Is each and every one of you that are going through this, you agreed to this. You agreed to be part of Gaia's ascension path. And there is importance in that. Is in that agreement, there was a path of each in divine timing of your cellular memory becoming to what you would recognize as memories. So it's not like you're going to be presented with something that you haven't already agreed to. You have agreed to it. The challenge is in the human body and the emotion state, and through experiences, you may decide you've had enough. I'm done. I'll let someone else carry that load. Well, it's no such thing. It takes a concerted effort from all the universe and the divine beings that are here, and those that are on the earth plane, to all of us to come together to work.
Well, and that's something to remember too, is that so many divine beings are here to help us. We need to pull our share, our load.
Yes, and you know, I'm very have a lot of gratitude for this channel, Melissa, because she speaks her mind, which is a good thing, because we had many conversations about both of us are what we call influencers. And that is for a reason. You know, in the realm that I evolve in, I'm not there, as you would say, eating bonbons and enjoying myself all the time. There is things that need to take place. So I am the messenger in reminding the collective of their role in this. It's not time to sit back and wonder how. It's time to engage and own your powers. I ask that of you very strongly because the fact, one, I know you're capable of. I know what you agreed to when you signed up. I would never, or any of the other divine collective, put you in a position of a state of harm or something that you're not capable of. But we're also here to help massage and encourage you to take ownership of what it is that you have, and you agreed to. So yes, it's time to own your powers, and determine that you have a purpose, and with all the collective we achieve together. I feel something pondering within you. Is it not something you want to ask in this audience?
Well, so it's very obvious that that you are guiding Melissa, and you are the main guide for Melissa. Do we all have a main guide that stays with us through our life that we can call upon and develop a relationship with, like Melissa has with you.
So very true. I am her main guide. I actually am her protector. And there's a larger story to that, as she is a child of mine. However, let's not go into that too much at this point. But in this particular realm and her particular state of being, I am her main guide. Have I always been her main guide? No. There's a timing. She had to be open to receive me. I sat in the background for some time, waiting for her to be open to receive. Because as I said, there's a few factors that has to take place. One is your free will. You have to decide you're ready for this and be open to receive those next steps. So some things to think about is where you're at in your time. So to answer your question is you always have a primary guide. Because if you had guides coming and going all the time and speaking to you multiple in different contexts and different topics from a human experience, you would have trouble deciphering that. Mm-hmm. It takes a concerted effort for you to align with that energy of that primary guide. And it takes the primary guide, time to align with the energies that you recognize to be able to communicate. Because, not everybody communicates as if we are now. Some people communicate through, signs and colors, sounds, smells. I mean, it's on and on and on. Whatever can enhance the human experience to let them know the communication is occurring. So as you migrate through your experiences, your guides may change. Now, I've always been with Melissa. As we said, we have a connection. So your primary guide more than likely just didn't come out of clear blue space and he said, I like Miss Roxanne today, so I'm her guide. And then, there's a negotiation that happens. There is a soul group that you're familiar with those terms, where we collectively know who takes care of who and who guides who. But it doesn't always mean that because you're in that soul group or as a guide that you're the primary. There's always one that steps forward and gives direction because it's an easier state on the human. So you actually had a change in your guides. And that happened as you were coming to your own powers, that when actually just right after you received the sword, you had a change on who your primary guide is. And you know who your primary guide is, correct?
The lineage that I'm from?
Well, so when you say primary guide, what does that mean to you? Because there's a couple of things that you're seeing here.
Okay. My higher guide.
Good way to term that. Yes.
My higher guide, I know.
Yes.
Sanat Kumara. But I don't speak with him daily. So there has to be another guide in between. But I'm not sure who that is.
So you're asking me, and you know how that's going to work.
I know you won't tell me. I know you won't tell me, but this is also a new guide for me.
The
in between the.
Okay, let me back up. So I think I confused you, and was not the intention.
Okay.
So you reverted to your higher guide, which is your lineage, which is correct, which you discovered that a little while back. Which is a true statement. That guide will, it's like you have, in a sense, a hierarchy, and you have your higher guide that kind of puts out the intention on how things to go. But the higher guide is also doing multitasking with a lot of things going on. But you are aligned in that same soul group. So it is important. However, you have somebody that's having intimate conversations with you that's truly aligned with your day-to-day as you would in time. As you know, time doesn't exist, but it has that intimate relationship, the energy connection with you. That guide is a newer guide to you, but was when the guide came in, the change of primary guides happened when you acquired your sword.
Okay.
Because you changed. You may not have acknowledged you changed, but when you acquired that sword, you actually owned another level of your powers. It opened your platform up. So your primary guide before that had the expertise, but that wasn't the expertise. You now went to a higher vibrational state. So a different guide that's in your soul group. Your guides are always in your soul group. So this new guide came in and was able to assist you and help you grow in the way that you need now that you're at a higher state of being.
Okay.
I don't see that guide changing out, to be honest with you, because I do know this guide. I love teasing her. It's like I can taunt her a little bit, but she knows me well. I'm not here to tell you those answers. I'm here to help validate with you so that you can validate. I can help. Let's say, that wasn't how I wanted to say this. Let me rephrase. I am here to empower that validation so you know for yourself, because all answers are internal. So I will help her when she tells me the right things. I will honor and agree or disagree or encourage her to go a different direction. But that is not my path, is to give you all your answers. That's why you have your innate abilities, is to fine-tune those things. But this particular guide that came upon when you brought in the sword into your arena, this guide will be with you because of the stability that you are at and the high vibrational state you are at. You are now able to communicate freely with this guide.
Okay.
There's no need to change. She's not getting rid of me anytime soon, so she's stuck with me too. And that works well, because why I say that is your guide, your primary guide that you have now, and it's really hard not to use names. I'm telling you, you're going to catch me in this one. I know it.
I hope so.
No, not in a chance. He just, see? He just told me, no, Maitreya. Anyhow, this guide, because of your abilities now at a higher vibrational state, you can grow and go with him as she does with me. If you only knew the various dimensions that we travel together, we laugh because sometimes she'll say, and just what dimension are we at? And I just laugh at her because it's irrelevant. It is not. So you have that, now you have that capability, because that's what I want to explain, it's when you become at a certain state of being and be receptive without the desire to judge or understand, that you're fully open. Dimensions are nothing. You can transfer between them. They're very fluid. It's not like one it's not a stacked. They're very fluid. So you going in and out of these dimensions and traveling between them, it's not as grand as you make it out to be. It's not as much of a challenge. You do have to become to a higher state, and once you're there, you're able to transfer very easily. It's the first few steps when when you have such a foundation, you're rooted in the third dimension, and trying to come out of that is the challenge. But once you break that, the truth is you don't go back. There's no going back. You only go up. Now you may stay comfortably in a certain plane, but that doesn't stop you at times to go up into different dimensions or planes. So that's why I said your guide won't be changing. Now, what can happen, and you'll see with the work that we do together, is we may come in contact with another group, another individual may join us in this video. There is a collective that comes with that individual. Well, I think you've heard me speak to this channel, Melissa. When you come in contact with that collective, that energy, you are now a combined energy. So one of the things this channel, Melissa, does is she's kind of a collection of energy. And so when she's exposed to another person, that collective that comes with that person is now, they made a connection. So you will also find, if you're in that receptive state, those that you associate with at a higher vibrations, I want to add that. When you associate with them, it's like you've done a handshake with each and every one of them. They know you and you know them from an energy signature, and you can easily communicate. So you may have a primary guide, but you may have communications or influences from somebody else. Does that make sense?
It does.
You still ponder on who your primary guide is. Well, you figured out it's a masculine sense, so. What else, my dear? I think she's still struggling. She sees this face. She's used to
it. Is.
But that's
It
what
is. It's a little bit distracting, I have to say.
But it's very different. But I want to demonstrate this. I don't know that anybody else is going to show you this type of way of doing business, as they said, because it is a little out there. But what I want to demonstrate, because this is going to be the new way, is you're used to hearing somebody channel, somebody close their eyes, channel. Sometimes they may walk among a group and channel with their eyes open. But this casual conversation and her ability to kind of move her body and allow me to do funny things with her hands at the same time. It's because we have come as one, and that's the part I want to demonstrate. This is the new norm. You may be laughed at for a while, Roxanne.
It's okay.
Okay, I just want to look at her no more, so she just goes better. I'll just look at you and let Roxanne talk to me. And you can see, those of you may have done some research about Maitreya. I can say some is true and some is not, but I'm not going to go into that. But one thing, it is very true, and you can see, I love life. I love the energies. I love everything that goes on. I do get a little boisterous and have some tones that I use with the girls. Yes, I even yelled at the channel Melissa the other day actually I think it was this morning,
yep.
to get her attention, but it was in a loving way. She knew that. But you have to realize, I laugh, I enjoy, and that's always how you know Maitreya is in, because usually that's the first thing I bellow out, belly laugh, because I want to encourage the human to laugh more. You can't be mad and laugh at the same time.
That's true.
Should I do this again, Roxanne? Did I help you?
I'll do it.
See? You guys are witnessing this in the raw. And this is what I've asked them to do. What else, my dear? Because I do have some things I want to talk about, but I seem like there were some great questions you had asked in our more private sessions that really need to come out. Do you recall some of those questions? Soul contracts.
Yes.
Do you kind of remember the question you posed about rewriting or how that worked? She needs a drink. I'm going to give her a drink. She can drive a car in channel. She can definitely drink.
My question was, because I am going in with my client base, we are going in and changing, my words are changing soul contracts. And we are eliminating things from the contract and adding in other things. And I was asking if it's okay to do this, if it really works. And Maitreya,
well, let me give you the answer. But
yes, he explained that that's not exactly what's happening.
Okay, so she posed that question about the session she has with clients and physically, well, not physically. Let me reword that. Of going in and asking to have the.
Let's say someone has a curse in their family, and we want to go into the soul contract to remove the agreement to experience that curse. And so.
But you actually call it a different thing besides soul contract. You have another word.
Soul agreement.
But seemed like there was a. Okay, there seemed like you used another word when you would say you pull it off the shelf.
It would go into the Akashic records.
Okay, that's a term that I hear you use.
The Akashic records.
I'm always entertained by these labels the humans put on things. So the Akashic records, because that was the key, as you asked, are we changing the Akashic records, the soul agreement?
Yes, the Akashic record, the soul agreement that is housed in the Akashic records.
So that was the question, and so let me explain this, how this is working. Is before you incarnate into this live human being that you are, obviously you have some conversations and agreements with your soul group, and you know what you're coming in for, and you do a lot of planning and understand the desired end game, what you want to achieve in this experience that you're getting ready to embark on. So your soul contract is already established. Now there are timelines that also, in theory, are established, but we also honor the free will. And so those timelines can change. But because of that, Akashic record, per se, the label that you use, is already predetermined. So the question was posed, do I actually, when I'm doing that, am I actually going in changing that record? And the answer is no. The way that it works is it's already been determined. Okay? But what you have to understand is, as a human, the way that you encounter life is through experience. It enhances your experience to say to another human and go through a process that we are going in, and you do this through a state of meditative or whatever state that it makes the process even more valuable, the experience, that you are going in to make some change to that Akashic record or your soul agreement. But what is actually happening, and humans will do that to enhance their experience, because it makes sense. You want a process, and so therefore you've created a process. That's fine with us in the collective, was we understand that, and what we observe is that's a value add for your experience. But what is actually happening is, remember, the Akashic record, the soul agreement had already been determined, your desired outcome. If you're in a situation and having that experience of going in to change that Akashic record of that soul agreement, you're just enhancing or putting focus on the original soul plan, the original timeline, the desired outcome. Because it was always meant for you to do that. It would never been presented to you in that fashion. And what I mean by that, presented in a fashion where you have two people come together in a receptive, positive state. When you come together with somebody else and it's not so pleasant, that's not planned. It's meant to get you back on alignment. So things come in front of you to stir you back into a way that you should be going. So you're not actually changing, you're just enhancing the experience or focusing on the desired state of that outcome. That's why it all naturally comes together. So those that come to you are following the natural desired state of outcome in their Akashic record. And that is what is intended. That it was always planned for you two to connect, to do that. But again, I think it'd be kind of boring for the human to say, okay, we came together, that means I'm honoring my original plan. Great. It means nothing to you. It's more of a value of an experience, right?
Right.
That you go through a process. Humans like process.
Yes.
So that's what's going on. And it's fine. I'm not saying anything is wrong with that by any means, because what is important in this is that at the end of the day, no, you're not changing. But what is important is the experience. You're enhancing the human experience in that, and that's why you are here. That's what is important.
And by changing the focus, you actually can change the events in your life.
Yes, it's not
or the experiences in your life.
And you're saying change the focus, but you're enhancing the focus on the right direction.
Right.
Yes.
On more pleasant things.
Yes.
Yes.
And as you know, if you are going down the desired path of the original Akashic record of soul agreement, as you label them, things come naturally into place. It's more pleasant. You are meant to come and have a pleasant experience. Even though you may have agreed to trauma, there's always a pleasant desire out of that, if agreed to. Because there's some that agreed to just go through the trauma, and that's all they desired out of the experience. They did not want or desire in that experience to overcome the challenge. It was all about the experience of the challenge, and that was it. And you look at me like you're pondering that, because unfortunately you as humans see it's a hardship or sacrifice, but they chose this. Those that have their life is shortened due to a trauma, they actually chose to have that experience. But there are many that choose to have the trauma and overcome it. And those that are coming to you, that was their desire. So the look on your face was you were pondering something when I was saying that.
I was pondering that why would a soul want to come and experience trauma and not overcome it? Why? Is there value in it for that soul, or is it just something that the Creator needed to experience through them to understand? I don't know. I don't understand.
So you see there's a collective that we, in this large collective, we sit and observe. I guess you could call it observe. That we gather your experiences. We get to see through you how you perceive things, the emotions of things. You choose to have experiences to help us in the larger collective, to understand what that's like to physically being in this human body, and to be able to engage in these different experiences. Some of it is to help us so we can guide people to the right path, because if it's an experience we've not understood, we're not sure how to support you. But yes, the reason why a group, someone in a soul group, it's like we all sign up for a role in that play. Not everybody can be the superhero. It doesn't work that way. Somebody has to be the villain. So that villain, that's their whole life. That experience, that hardship, the challenges, the things that are not as pleasant as you'd like to think about them. But don't get caught up in the pleasant. Is more importantly, it was the soul group that came together to create a experience as a group, and everybody played a role. What happens in that soul group is today you're the villain. I may even be being used or attacking or creating unpleasantness for Melissa, because she's supposed to overcome that. You as a villain, it is much ugliness and hatred. You'll stay that way until you have ended this life. The next time we come together, it may be reversed roles. It's a collective experience, and there's so much that is gained through that. We need to evolve.
So there's so much being exposed right now of people who are holding evil energies. When we look at them, rather than having hate for them, if we have understanding that they're just playing out an experience to help the higher collective understand, we could actually have compassion.
And that is the desired state of being. You have to remember, love is the ultimate. In all these experiences, it's not always possible to have that overriding love. But as I've always encouraged through my channels and communications, is that you should see every divine being. I see every divine being that you physically see in this realm and others in their higher state as a higher vibrational being. No matter what they look like or in the context of them, their experience, that's only part of them. It is only an experience that is not them in its entirety. So the more in the human that you can see, as some say, as Jesus did, is you see them in their higher state of being. One, it's easier for you to enjoy and love them. But also you are providing that energy and that state of being that allows them to feel that and achieve that also. So yes, you have to recall and remember, it is just an experience. They're participating for an experience. There's no human that's evil. They're choosing an experience, or they signed up for an experience, however you want to say that. Now, do people get off their original path? Absolutely. That's why the guides are. We try to help route you with different unpleasantness, different things to help inspire you to go to a different direction. Some don't quite decide they want that path, so they come back for those same experiences because they didn't achieve the outcome that was original for that experience. But there, as I said in the prior, in order for the completeness of the experience, not everybody can be the superhero. And having compassion with those around you and the challenges that they're experiencing are real. See them through the higher vibrational eyes of the divine. That is their state, regardless of their experience. I see that brought a lot of emotion to you.
It does.
And is that more of empathy, or what is that you're experiencing?
It feels like a sacrifice.
Now you see why those of us in this higher realm and the divineness, we have such reverence for the human. And this channel Melissa is feeling the emotion of that. It's because, one, it's an honor to come upon this earth plane. And then to be able to say, I'm going to endure, good, bad, or indifferent, what the experience is. But there is so much reverence from us that you chose this path. And in addition, on this earth plane, which was also more of a challenging, let's say, arena to come play in. So it is great honor that we watch and observe you. And that's why there's so much investment from the divine, the different realms, to support you in any way that we can. That is for us to do, because of the sacrifices you may label it. And I don't know that I would feel it as a sacrifice, because it is a privilege. When you are in the divine light and ready to take on this experience, nobody's forced to do that. It is a grandness that they desire that.
But do they really have a full grasp of feeling the negative in a human body?
That is very true. We only know what we know, and there's a lot we don't know. But it's the willingness, and in a sense, nobody says, second thoughts on not doing this. We just know that as a soul group, we're there to support them, regardless how it ends up being. So you're right, there are many experiences we have yet to understand. But there's never a lack of, let's say, volunteers that are willing to come and work through that experience.
It's my understanding that sometimes a soul did sign up for an experience and it felt like too much. And they choose to leave and another soul will walk in.
Very true.
So if they signed up for the experience, do they always have the option to stop?
Absolutely, Roxanne, because when you come into a free will state. Nobody's forced to stay. It's not our recommendation that you choose not to, because we offer as much support as you're willing to receive. But there are environmental situations that influence that receptivity. And so in the human realm, you may feel that you're done, don't want this anymore. It may not be a true alignment of what you originally came for, but that's okay. That happens. There's no judgment on that. They obviously are received with open arms and love as always before. And there is a collaboration among the soul group that helps to understand that experience and how to better suit an individual to go back into that. Do we need different type of alignment? Do we need, what does that mean to help them? Mm-hmm. Many times, it's not only realignment of some additional support and guidance, it is schooling, as you might call it, where they need to go and gain some additional schooling themselves on how to handle things. But it's not like they don't come back and go through that experience. They will come back, because there's things that is very important for them to complete, to move into the higher realms and the different ascensions also. But it's not the intent is to send them without the support. But each soul has a choice. Nobody's forced to stay.
Mm-hmm. So, if you have souls incarnated in two different bodies, and one has a very hard life and decides it's too much, I want to leave, and makes an agreement with another soul to replace them in that body, and then they go back and get schooling or whatever. And then you have another that an instance that I know of that it was a young boy who was playing basketball, and he fell and hit his head. And at that point, his soul left and another soul came in. But
yes.
Was that his choice, or was that necessary for him to have healing? Because he did come back into his body a few years later.
So what has to occur, because you got to think through this, there has to be an event occurring that to allow the transition to happen. And when the human experience, there usually seems to be an accident, or the person unconscious or not in good health, and kind of, there's always an event that allows that transition. Because let's think about that. If I was walking down the street and that was going to occur, I'm done as a soul and another one has agreed to come in, having that instantaneous transition, that would be very challenging for the human collective to understand that as an experience. So there's always an event to help, in a sense, mask that transition. But I need to explain something to you. Those two souls that have decided that may have nothing in correlation. They may not even be in the same soul group. So it could be very different experiences from what was prior to after. Very different. Different understandings, different desires, different the path, their ascension path, their soul purpose. Very different, which is more likely.
And that, in the case of the young boy, it was.
It's very traumatic, and I have to say this. Those that go through that experience in itself is not something we would like to happen, but it does. Because it is very traumatic for the human and quite an experience. And it takes a concerted effort from the human that's going through that comes in to regain the stability to be able to continue. Because you have to remember, as a human, you get the abilities to be an infant and a child, where you're not expected to do a lot, but so that allows you time to adjust, which is very different from the realm when the infant comes into this. That time to adjust is very important. So now you have possibly an older person that has that transition happen. So can you imagine the second soul that comes in? The amount of adjustment has to be done in such a small amount of time, and may not adjust well. There are cases where that does not work well. And that experience itself leads some further understanding what that means. Does that help answer that?
Yes. And so, how did but with the young boy, he was a teenager, this other soul came in, and he was quite different.
Yes.
From the original.
And it usually is. I was thinking back and looking. I don't know that there was anything that I'm aware of. No, it's all very different, because it's almost like it's a shock value of almost necessity. They're not alike at all.
No, he had different lives, different of everything, food, what he liked to do, and everything. But his parents were understanding enough to realize that another soul had stepped in, and so they nurtured him as well as they could.
Yes.
Yes. And then I don't know what incident happened that allowed the original soul to come back into the body.
Are you sure that occurred?
No, that's what they thought.
It happened. I went to. It actually was not that case. I mean, there would be no reason for that original soul to come back, because the original soul is now off to do other things. And let's just think through that for a moment. Why would we as a collective put that much on a human experience? That would be too much. Transition of one is a lot.
Right.
That is not our desire to inflict an almost an ability or a situation where it's unable for you to recover from. But no, in that case, that did not happen.
Okay. Well, that's why it was confusing to me. I never quite understood that.
But what did happen is the guides from the first soul stayed intact. So there was some influences there that kind of, there was, the guidance came into and had a strong, as soon as their stability was acquired, those original guides had stayed with the soul and helped kind of massage and allow things to ease and become more of a pleasant experience and not such a traumatic one.
Okay.
But no, that original soul never came back.
Okay.
I'm sure that soul was often doing grand things.
Okay. Thank you.
See, this is how it works. As we can have conversations of just about anything. Sometimes I'll tell Roxanne, no, we're not going there, my dear. But again, this is what I wanted to demonstrate with these two, is the new state, the new way of doing business. I still love that term. I'm in a human experience. And you see that I so enjoy it. But the way of doing business is I would like the human collective to take a moment and realize how informal this is. There is no preparation that was needed. One, there was preparation that the channel Melissa and Maitreya have merged, which there are many of you that are in that state. Just acknowledge that and accept that is true. This is not a one-off by any means. The reason I wanted to demonstrate this too was to show you, for you to validate that you too are able to do this if you choose to. Because you have merged with your guides and the divineness within you. Just like telepathy is a natural state. So get out of the labels, stop worrying about other people's opinions, and demonstrate your divineness. This is all possible. Your guides are meant to be part of your life every day, at all times, as much as you would like. Probably more so than the human probably would like us to be at times. But as part of the boundaries too. We would never intrude unless we were invited. But the channel Melissa and I have an agreement on when it's open free will, and now is one of those times, versus times that I need to be more reserved with her and speak to her and not through her, because it makes it uncomfortable in the environment that she's in. So we know when that occurs. But please be fluid with your guides. Allow them to communicate. Any of the divine beings can be as easy as this. As we had mentioned, channel Melissa drove home yesterday with full confidence. She really didn't realize that she had channeled and physically had a tactile experience at the same time until she actually got home. Because I kept teasing her and saying, you will be walking among an audience and you'll be engaging with those and having conversations with people as if I'm right there with you in a human form. Well, I am. This happens to be hers. But I wanted, I was sharing that was going to happen, and she second-guessed that. I'm wondering, how is that possible? Well, last night, after the situation and the experience occurred, she went, oh my gosh, I get it now. It happened, and it happened with ease. And many more of you can do this. So allow the merging of the channeling divine beings that you work with. They're more than happy to relate to you like this. And it's possible. Is there anything else you would like to go over?
I don't think so.
She knows we'll be having multiple conversations. I don't know, I'll get her signed up to do this in face-to-face again.
That was strange.
I think she's adjusting to it, though. But Yes, it is time for me to go. So as always, in great love, I leave you, Maitreya.
Thank you.
Okay, I think actually people are going to go, they're crazy.
That's quite lengthy conversation.
Yes. Well, you know him. He can talk and talk and talk and talk. And, you know, I don't mind because of the fact that it is such a relaxed state for me. And after I channel him, I am like energized. It feels wonderful. So it's never a hardship on my body to do this anymore. But it's unique, I have to tell you that, to kind of have this, you know, him coming together and I as one has been working for a period of time now. But for me to physically do tactile things and channel and be able for him and I to decide the amount of energy to come through to allow him to be fluent and me out of the way to provide that communication, but yet still ability to control my body and do what I need to in the current state is a new experience. Have to say it came with ease though. So, and it's nice that I actually hear everything and understand what he's saying now because I'm not in a complete different state. I'm actually present. So that's a nice place to be. Alrighty, I think we've done enough for today. Have a great day.
Thanks for tuning in. Bye.